So if we take a look at the bug we're trying to fix, we've got a crash whenever we have a capstone in our hand. That's not it. Let me try to recreate it here. There it is. So we crashed there because we pressed enter. Okay, yeah. So the thing is, we crashed there upon an enter press because we dropped a stone, and then since we only had one capstone in our hand, by the time enter was pressed, that's when it tried to index the next direction, which was off screen. It would have been up, which was a row of 0, which is nil, which is why we're crashing, trying to index that nil value. So enter was pressed. We had an occupant, and that occupant was a capstone. So we become no longer off grid. So that's where it's messing up, right? And my cursor's bugging out. So the bug is something to do with this. Now, yesterday we said we were just gonna decouple our off-grid with a new variable, which was like illegal move or something like that, which is potentially a lot of work. I'm wondering if we can bodge it a little bit and just get it working. So what can we do? We don't want an off-grid to be false if we have what movement event is this? Movement event 4. So in a movement event 4, do we have our debugging on screen here? Yeah, we do. So our movement event, okay. So let's just try to fix it for movement event 4, and then we'll see if we can't scale it to the rest of the moves. Now what's happening is enter's being pressed, and we have 1. So this tricks it into thinking it's a capstone crush because we're moving with only 1 stone, but we forgot to say if next move is off grid. So we've got a function for this. I mean, we've got a function called next move illegal. I don't get why Vim is highlighting crap like that. So next move illegal. We take a look at that. It takes in our next move row. So anytime we lock in a move, anytime we hit enter, we're updating this next move row. Are we not? Let's see where our next move row is being changed. We're not actually changing it there. Not here. So next move off grid is what actually updates that. So where movement 4, we do a next move illegal here. Next move illegal, we don't do that here. Next move off grid, we do it late. Next move off grid, yeah. So we only want to do hold on, let me look at this next move off grid and what does it actually do? Next move off grid. it's taking our direction and it's updating our next move row and column based on the parameter passed in, and we just flip off grid depending on if that's illegal or not. So that should be exactly what we need to fix this. So next move off grid, yeah, it asks what direction we've already locked in. It figures out what it updates our next move row and column, and then it asks, hey, is our next move in row column an illegal move? If so, off grid gets true. So we need to keep our capstone crush logic, but we need to say, oh, by the way, if our next move is illegal, actually, if our next move is off grid, we do have a next move illegal. What is that difference? That difference is we're asking. Okay, so next move illegal. We had to put this in to prevent us from dumping a stone on top of a max stone occupant. So we're saying if our stone plus the stone in that next move would be greater than 14, then we know it's going to be an off-grid false. See, that's where we messed up, is doing off-grid variable for doing two things. Checking off-grid and checking if the next move is illegal. That's where we really messed up. But since we implement these functions in 5 different move states in our play state here, update function, it just gets tough to track it down and debug it and test it. So I'm trying to think of a way I don't have to do it great. I'm just trying to fix it with what I've got, and I think we can do that. I guess that's not a great engineer mindset. I'm just trying to get it to work. We're at the finish line, and I'm not trying to refactor 300 lines right now. I've learned my lesson. Just don't want to fix it. I'll fix it on the next problem, on the next program. So we've got this next move off grid that takes in the current grid and row. That's just what we're calling it. You can pass whatever you want to that. And it's going to change off grid to be true if we would become off grid by the time we apply our next direction index update. So in Moon Event 4, we are actually doing this on, see, I'm wondering if we can't yank this and actually comment this out and just say, only do this. Nope. We would say, next move off grid, that'll update our off grid to become true if it is. See, but we're actually updating our second movements. Now the thing is, this function here doesn't return a true or false. It just updates our off-grid variable. So there's an instance where we don't want to become off-grid false, and that's if our off-grid is true at this point. So we're going to run this, then we're going to say if off-grid is true, okay, I think we want to say if not off-grid, then if not off-grid, how do I do this? Bro, you're kidding me. Let's try this again. If not off-grid, meaning that our next move off-grid isn't coming back true, which is yeah, when we run this function, when we run this function, we're updating our off-grid variable to be true if our next move would be off-grid. So this is for the capstone crush. So we want to still enable off-grid to become false if this isn't already true. Is that right? So we're saying if not off-grid, then if not off-grid, so if off-grid is false, then we're going to go ahead. We shouldn't need to change off-grid there. If it's not off-grid, what do we want to do? We want to do all this crap. Oh God, man. It's so hard to understand. Because we run next move off-grid down here too. So we have these things in an else if. So if the first thing we do is check whether or not I guess I'm a little confused on if we are, this is only happening if we are off grid, but that's not what we want to do. We don't want to turn off grid to false just because off grid was true and we have a capstone in our hand. Where do we actually do our capstone crush logic here? We do it in movement event 5. Do we do it sooner than that? We do it, yeah, we do it. Fuck, man, fuck. See, we need to just capstone crush it becomes true here. But then where are we actually doing this capstone crush stuff? So if we have one occupant and our stone control of our mouse is a capstone, and the stone control of the move we're going into is a standing stone, then go ahead and capstone crush gets true. So So I guess what is this asking? Because we already, well, I guess that's once enter is pressed. So by the time we crash, our capstone crush is true because we only have one stone in our hand. No, it isn't. It isn't. Let me just see. Let's print up our capstone crush, because I don't think it's actually getting set to true there. So in our debug one, we'll just take, we'll say, capstone crush, and we'll say oh God, how do I change what's in the parentheses here? I'll have to look up the Vim to replace that, but capstone crush right there. And we need to increment, which we can do in Vim with Control O. I don't remember. I thought it was Control A, but I actually got Tmux stuff set for that now. So we've got Capstone Crush here rendering to the screen, and we can see it shouldn't be true because the next stone is not a... Yeah, see, even though we have one in our hand and it's a capstone, it's not a capstone crush because the space we're going into is not a standing stone. So that is... So by the time we press enter, now we are off grid at this point, at least at the time we crash in this scenario. But we're using off grid to determine our off-grid is gonna be true if the next stone is a capstone. So that's why we're setting it to false here. It's just so confusing. So we're trying to do... This isn't enough to detect a capstone. So sure, we have one occupant, sure, its stone control is a capstone, but that doesn't mean off-grid is false. It doesn't mean that. Because if off-grid is false, see, that actually doesn't help us any. This is in movement event 5. We want to be on 4. First. Okay. Shit, man. What do we do? We need another thing in this if that only runs. So yeah, this is the capstone crush. So how do we determine what's a capstone crush and what is a off-grid move? Because we use the same variable. Oh, I think we might just have to redo it. There's gotta be a way. So what if we have another thing that we ask, and we ask if, or actually we need to run, I think we want to run this. Nope. Come on, dude. Did you really think that's what I tried to do? Okay, I'm gonna delete that, run it up here. So we're first gonna... See, but the thing is, off-grid is already gonna be true. Off-grid is already true, so running this here doesn't actually help us any. I'm afraid to take it away from down there because we're actually... I don't know. So before we check if it's an actual capstone crush, we want to say if mouse actually, we can ask what our current grid is here at this point. And if it's so look, if we have only a capstone in our hands, I want to ask, hey, if our first movement row is equal to 1, or first movement row is equal to 5, or our first movement column is equal to 1, or our first movement row is equal to 1, then we know we can't do a capstone crush. So instead of doing something, maybe we can just do nothing, and otherwise we can go ahead and do all these things. So would that do anything? So now when we move, when we try to lock in, it doesn't crash. And it does allow us to drop it still. So I guess now the question is, do we still do a capstone crush if we move only with 1? Yeah, we do. But do we do it if, like right here? So now we lock this in, we lock this in. We still capstone crush. So that might be it. So this we can add in a note here that says doesn't do anything if capstone would move into off-grid. Okay, so I think we need something like this for each movement event. It's our first movement event, row and column in movement event 4, but it would be the second movement event in movement event 5. So we go down to our enter press, and for our capstone crush right here, we actually do something before. That something is we ask if our what do we do here? We can do something fancy here with Vim and highlight the whole line. We can say substitute first with second for that whole line. That didn't work. Fuck. There's a way to do it. Highlight it. Substitute first, second, but globally for that whole line. Okay. So this isn't quite right. In our movement event 4, we wait until we ask if it's a capstone first. Then we do that. So we've got to change that a bit. So yep, we're actually going to do this here, and we say gotta indent all this. Okay. So let's test something in our movement event 4 first before we get too carried away that was the solution. So in our movement event 4, under our enter press, under our capstone crush, let's comment this out. So we're actually ignoring the fact that this as a condition. Let's see, this should crash us. This should crash us when we press enter with only one capstone in hand, and we're at an off-grid space, and it does. Yet, if we take out these comments and actually do nothing, instead of turning off-grid to false, if our first movement row is on the border, then we should not crash. So we have one in our hand, we hit enter, and we don't crash. It's actually waiting until we have 0 occupants for enter to actually do anything. So it's looking like that might actually fix it. It's just, it looks janky because we ask something and then we don't do anything. Otherwise we do something, but it exits this loop if it is on the edge. So it would never actually turn off grid to false, but it still allows a capstone crush if we're moving onto a capstone crush. So I think that might actually work. I mean, it's seeming to work. And we ask the second movement row in our movement event 5. So we would need to check in our movement event 6. I guess I'm curious if we actually do crash on a movement event 6. That would be if moving once is movement event 4, moving twice is movement event 5, moving 3 times would be movement event 6. So we should crash on that. So let's just see if we have. I want to prove that we'd crash on a movement event 6 doing this. So we're in a movement event 6. We have 1 in our hand. I think we're going to crash if we hit enter. Yeah, we do. So I guess we'll check. We'll do our movement event 6 fix, and then we'll recreate what we just did. And if we fix it there, then I'm pretty happy with it. And we would probably need the movement event 7 as well. But we're going to go to our enter press. We're going to go to our capstone crush logic. We're going to wait till we determine that we actually have a capstone and only a capstone in hand. And that's when we're going to ask about not our second movement row, but we're going to substitute second with third. See what is going on there? Oh, I did a dot s/second/third, but global for that selection. And we don't do anything if we're on the grid like that. So if we're on the corner, we forgot to add the extra end here. So we've got this. We need to actually indent this end. And now, if we're here and we do the same thing we tried before, which is get a couple stack going. We're gonna try to see if we don't crash here now. So we can dump. Now, we hit enter, we shouldn't crash. And we don't. So, tentatively, that fixes it, right? I mean, let's see. We should still crash in a movement event 7, I guess. So we'll see about that. Let's see about that. So now, well, yeah, we should crash here if we take this all the way to the end and try to hit enter with only a capstone in hand. We're actually not crashing there. So movement 7, we're actually not crashing there. Are we doing something different in movement 7 that we're not doing on an enter press? Yeah, we are. We only do something for occupants 0 in a movement 7, so we might be good. Because that's the last movement, so it's like, no, you gotta drop all your stones. We're not gonna ask about the next stone if it's off grid. It's just only do something if enter is pressed in movement 7 if we don't have any stones in our hand, which makes sense. I'm tempted to say that that fixes our bug. I guess we can just play around and kind of make sure things are working. You know, like, hey, we can capstone crush, we can move, we can move on a stack, we can't move onto a capstone, we cannot move onto a standing stone, but we could, if we pick this up, so here's the difference. If we were to lock in this many stones right now, this standing stone wouldn't be a legal move. So if we hit enter, we don't actually have the ability to move it there, but we do the same thing again, and we actually lock in only one stone in hand. That's when it's actually a legal move, because a capstone moving by itself can crush that standing stone. So this is all looking to be working. I'm tempted to say that it's working. This is awesome. We only got 2 black stones left. So this is why our 14 stack limit isn't that big of an issue. So it's like, even though technically in the game you could have 15 stones stacked, although it would be crazy to move that, we're basically out of stones here, and the board looks kind of empty. You know, we don't have higher than like a 6 stone here. It's actually a 4. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. Okay, we need to flush. Fuck. I've never seen that bug before, but that's not a big deal, I don't think. So yeah, by the time the last stone is placed, we're not flushing our highlight, our legal move highlight for that grid. We just placed it in for some reason. But if we place a stone in an empty spot, we should flush it right away. So a move type place is at a movement event 1. No, it's a move type place, not a movement event. So it's before our move type or movement events, but it's, god dang. Yeah, not a movement event, but a place event. Yeah. So as soon as we place the stone, we need to flush that. What is it? Legal highlight? No. Legal move highlight? Yeah, legal move highlight, I think it is. Let's see in our occupants. Yeah, I think it's legal move highlight. No. It's selection highlight. Selection highlight. So we need to flush selection highlight as soon as we place a stone, regardless of what movement event or whatever. So if not occupied, yeah, we need to flush legal move highlight right here. But not legal move highlight, selection highlight. So we need to say also grid at your mouse be that occupant selection highlight will need to get false at this point. Let's see where we do this here. Legal move highlights. If we're hovering over a move, it's a move type place, and we have 0 occupants, we're going to go ahead and be true, but we don't flush those. So, we do here. Okay, yeah, we had to fix another bug there, but this should actually fix that other bug we had. So we should be actually able to remove that. Let's see. Actually, yeah, let's see. So I'm just gonna fill up this whole thing and see if our red is still on screen. And it is not. So that looks to have fixed it. Now let's just, for shits and giggles, turn that off and try the same exact thing. And it's on. Yep. So that looks to have fixed it. Now I'm willing to bet also that we do this right here under our wins. Where are we? Yeah, right here. I'm thinking we can turn this off and actually not need that anymore. That was a trickier bug to get to show up. Oh, see? It does show up. Oh, it should not have let us do that, but I guess I get it. That was definitely a bug, though. Okay. Okay. So I guess we do need it. Anyways, I think we're good. I mean, at this point, there are no known bugs to me because we just fixed the last bug we knew of. I'm actually really surprised we were able to do that. It's not the prettiest, but what is? If we take a look at our git diff here, we fix our selection highlight bug. That's not as much change as it looks because we're actually just indenting and we're actually not even doing anything. We're just asking a condition first and doing nothing. And then otherwise we're enabling that capstone crush logic for each movement event. So we might be in good shape. At this point, I don't know of any bugs, and at this point, I don't know of any features I actually want to add. So we're tentatively in a just polish the game up if I can think of anything, but other than that, we're good. I don't know of a way to kind of brute force test these things to see if they crash or not. I only know how to manually try these different things. But let's say we fixed our off-grid bug. We want to say fixed crash when single capstone is on edge piece. Is piece IE like that? Yep. That looks way wrong. Okay. I didn't think we were gonna fix it today. I mean, I don't know to what extent we're totally fixed, but I'm happy right now. So I guess now I can just do some thorough debug hunting, just play a bunch of different games, trying to do as weird moves as possible, seeing if anything crashes, and I'll record it so that I can kind of remake any potential bug that might be there. But other than that, we might be done, guys. We might be done, and then we can just tidy up. We can tidy up, delete any comments out, take do our polishing up, and then move on and go back to Joust. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see if we're in fact done, and then yeah, I think tomorrow I'm going to try to do some more thorough debugging, see if I can't find anything, and if I can find something, tomorrow's episode will be that, and if not, we might be going back to Joust tomorrow. Or we might finalize this and clean it up, but I'm very happy with this. We've got a win state, we've got 2 games printing up scores, we've got a perpetual kind of game loop running where you can just keep playing your games, and we have no known bugs at this moment, so that's huge. I have an inkling that if we do have a bug, it's going to be something to do with our 14 stack stones, but when we were doing that feature, I kind of, thoroughly tested the things I thought at the moment would come into play there. But, I definitely could have missed something, so it's just hard to say. It's hard to say. Let's take a look at what our help is looking like. Because I think we can toggle. Yeah, we've got this. Select a place a stone or move a stack in your control. Place stones count as road and stack control. Standing stones don't count as road. Do count as control. Capstone can crush standing stone if by itself. You can move up to 5 pieces in one direction. At least 1 stone needs to be dropped in each space while moving in a direction. First to have a road across the board wins. That's awesome. That's not what I wanted. Okay. Well, thanks for watching. We'll continue the series. Maybe, yeah, we'll continue tomorrow, and I'm hoping there aren't any more hidden bugs, but it's just so hard to know.